All right, let's wind it down here. We're a couple minutes in. Say thanks to Black Sabbath and thanks to Gozda for the recommendation on the song to come in today. So, good morning, good afternoon. I'm sure if we have any good evenings, but hello to everybody. Thanks so much for joining today's live on ServiceNow webinar about how to integrate multiple instances with a Microsoft Tenant. First webinar of the year. We still need to roll through our safe harbor notice. Just please recognize anything we talk about today that's not currently generally available represents a plan and not a promise, and no purchasing decisions should be made on such forward-looking statements. Today's session is a part of the Live on ServiceNow curated event series. It's designed to connect you with ServiceNow experts and peers that can help you deploy your products and achieve value faster. We hope you'll join us again at another webinar or 360 Exchange. You can see the schedule by scanning the QR code in the on the screen here, or visiting the link in the chat, which I'm dropping in. There you go. A little bit of housekeeping for today's session. We'll save time at the end for Q&A. In the meantime, please use the Q&A button on your on Zoom to submit questions along the way. We've got a panel of experts on the line that will be able to help. This presentation will be recorded and shared on the ServiceNow community, and the address to the page where it will be shared is in the chat. Please let me know if maybe you joined late and don't actually see it. After the event, when you close the Zoom session, you'll be prompted to fill out a feedback survey. As always, please do provide your feedback. Let us know what you liked and what we could do better. It really helps us plan for future sessions. All right. So let's getting into the our agenda a little bit more. We'll go through a couple of introductions now. We'll do a brief overview of our solution, and then we'll talk some about setting up multiple instances with a single tenant. And then we'll go through a demonstration about what a configuration might look like. And we'll finish up with our Q&A. Oh my. Guys, I just want to double check on the audio. Is my audio coming through okay?
Yes, we can hear you, yeah.
Okay, good. Thanks. Okay, so let's go ahead and complete our introductions. I've been doing the talking so far. My name is Jeff Fox. I'm a product manager here at ServiceNow. I've been here just a little more than 2 years at this point, working on our integrations from the IT service management perspective, and I've been focused on Microsoft during that time. I really love figuring out this integration and being able to talk to customers about how to get more value of it. So I'm really excited for today's session, really glad to be here. And I'm really pleased and grateful to have such a great panel of experts on the line. Goza, do you mind to please introduce yourself to the audience?
Yes, of course. Thanks, Jeff. I hope you can hear me clearly. My name is Gözde. I am a solution architect, solution consultant working for Microsoft Alliance here at ServiceNow. I was a ServiceNow consultant. This is how I started my whole career, ServiceNow consultant, and then I joined to Microsoft, and now very happy to be part of this joint team serving for both of the companies. Happy to be here. Thanks a lot for the opportunity, Jeff.
Yeah,
and
thanks.
Raghu, it's your turn.
Hey, thanks, Thursday. Yeah, I'm Raghu. I'm here. I work for the engineering team. Yeah, we are responsible for the Microsoft integration features. Yeah, here, happy to help.
Yeah, thanks. And y'all, I got to tell you, getting ready for today's call and pretty much for, is more than a year, Raghu has been a real source of support as I've learned a lot about the integration. He really knows his stuff. So thanks again for joining. So let's go ahead and move into the content a little bit. And I'm actually looking here on Zoom and I don't see it at the moment, but if there's a way to raise your hand or to respond in the chat, please let us know if you're interested in setting up multiple instances with your Microsoft Tenant. Okay, that's cool. I see at least one. I don't know how many I can see at a time. All right. Oh, cool. I'm seeing a couple hands raised. That's great. So yeah, that's obviously why we're here. And I'm gonna try, if I can, to okay, bear with me, having a little technical issue with the hand raising, I guess. Oh, oh, my bad. Okay, so we've got a poll. Let me see if I can kick it off. Jeez, a little wonky today. Okay, here we go. All right. Apologies, folks. Okay, so here we go. You should see the poll at this point. Please take a moment to respond. Let us know what best describes your ServiceNow instance setup. If you have multiple instances or a single instance, or if you perhaps have multiple acquisitions. And then if you could scroll down, there's a second question that's a bit of a true false. Yeah, thank you both so much. All right. Okay, responses are slowing down a bit, so I'm going to go ahead and close the poll here and share these results. And I'm seeing very few attendees have a single instance. Almost 80% have dev, test, and prod, and just under 10% have multiple entities with each with one or more instance. And then in terms of mergers and acquisitions, about a quarter of the respondents indicate that they're going to want to be able to integrate mergers and acquisitions at least for some amount of time. So that's really useful to understand. So in fact, most everybody is working with multiple instances. That's great. So this should be, I believe, a useful session. Let's go ahead and with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ghosta. Ghosta.
Yes, I will be talking about, why you would need that integration, actually. I'm sure that you already came to this webinar to learn about it because you already saw the value. So, but in detail, let's start off by understanding why actually we prefer, why do we have this integration? Why integrate ServiceNow for Microsoft? So, especially during the pandemic, also, it was one of the biggest challenges. And we, from our end, after talking with multiple customers, what kind of challenges they have, one common theme popped up. And this is what you see on the screen. Organizations are pressed to provide both, so they want better experience with more efficiency. So apart from that, almost all of them consider this their mission critical objective. So what do we mean by mission critical? Why is it mission critical? Because the proliferation of applications has created a common challenge, which is to manage multiple experiences. Employees and also the help desk agents, they have to manage multiple experiences. They have email, they have chat, they have portals, and this creates stress as they are constantly toggling between applications to find the right information. And there are too many notifications coming from these different interfaces. It is not only stressful, it is also inefficient. Navigating to so many places for information is not exactly the good use of time. So email for notifications, chat for collaboration, and ServiceNow for action, your workflows. These experiences are not perfect. Sometimes information is just missed altogether. And next slide, please. And some of the research also support what I'm saying here. 20%, according to McKinsey report, They say that 20% of employee time is lost searching for information to complete tasks and workflows. Sorry, 9% of time is lost trying to reorient the task after visiting a new application.
Gosa?
Sorry, I had a microphone problem. I'm so sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think you can handle from here, Jeff. I will just say this last piece. 43% of employees, they miss important information because they have too many applications open. So I let you continue, Jeff, from here.
Okay. Thanks, Gosa. I appreciate that. This leads us to where the integration between ServiceNow and Microsoft comes in. We strive to improve efficiency by seamlessly weaving ServiceNow and Microsoft experiences together into natural workplaces. And there's a lot of benefits to this, right? You get, with this seamless experience, there's happier employees, more of a singular experience for both agents and employees. And it increases productivity because the integration between Teams and Microsoft Teams and ServiceNow brings notifications, information, and action into a single place. And finally, collaboration is optimized. Good things happen when you take world-class collaboration software and weave it directly into world-class workflow software. And so looking at the stakeholders involved, let's talk about some of the benefits of driving efficiency through the experience. And, the CIO wants to be sure they're maximizing their strategic investments that they've already made. Service owners want to be able to alert employees and quickly work with experts on a Teams bridge for streamlined collaboration to close major incidents faster. Agents want to be able to reach requesters and other experts within Teams directly out of ServiceNow to close cases faster. And employees don't want to leave their natural workspace or don't need to leave their natural workspace when it comes to requesting service, finding answers, or providing information to an agent. They can do this all through Teams. So moving on, here's a bit of a look of what we have, what's available through the integration. We've got, at the foundation at the bottom is the ServiceNow platform. We have Employee Center, we have Now Assist, our generative AI capabilities that are baked in really across the platform at this point, and we have Virtual Agent. And on top of all this, there's so much that can be done. And I won't read through all of this, but there's a ton of benefits to leveraging these, the ServiceNow platform, which is a current, something the organization already owns, as well as, your Microsoft infrastructure. We talk about the subscription requirements down here at the bottom, including both the ITSM or HR subscription, as well as Integration Hub. And you can see the bevy of capabilities that can be deployed and leveraged through the integration. So I'll talk for a couple minutes, or talk briefly about how the integration has continued to build over the years since it came in, along with I believe it started in the Paris release. So we really are able to offer the virtual agent experience inside of Teams, for requesters. We're also able to share Employee Center. I believe Employee Center came out in Rome, and so it's now deployed in Teams as well, though you could put a different portal such as your ServiceNow service portal in there as well. And then from an agent experience, we were able to develop a request-based chat capability. We had our major incident management and notify connector capabilities that were available through the platform to send notifications to Teams and to leverage Teams calls. And then the universal request integration with Teams. And I'll keep it pretty high level here. Service Operations Workspace came out soon after in the San Diego release. And it was really a singular location for agents to work across multiple product lines to work with their ServiceNow records. And through ServiceNow, it's part of our next experience from a user experience. and we continue to develop capabilities around that. Everything that was built within Employee Center and Virtual Agent was able to be leveraged inside of Teams. And so as over time, as SOW, as Service Operations Workspace, Employee Center, and VA continue to develop, the integration became more and more robust. And then fast forward to our Vancouver release, in the second half of last year, we've got some generative AI capabilities. We were able to include AI search within Employee Center last year. And we also added sidebar integration with Teams, which is really, our next collaborative chat experience that we're looking to drive more on. And our next webinar in a couple of weeks will focus on the sidebar integration, actually. We've also got ServiceNow on Azure and a Viva integration as well. And then, fast forward to this Washington release, the Q1 release for ServiceNow that went live. It goes live tomorrow, right? No, it was last week. Sorry, it was last Thursday, I think. We included in Employee Center some cool new capabilities around integrated experience and service feedback that is available through Teams, as well as, and this was a pretty big one, the Now Assist in Virtual Agent is available in Teams. So you get a lot of conversational capabilities and support without having to use NLU to develop virtual agent topics. So Now Assist works through service catalog items and knowledge base articles to provide conversational answers to employees. It's a real big step. We'll be talking about that in subsequent webinars as well. Sorry, I am really struggling with the interface here for Zoom. I apologize, you guys. There we go. I see that there's a Now Assist. Yeah, Now Assist is a separate license. It's called Pro Plus, and it is an add-on to Pro, or you could get Enterprise Plus, which is an add-on to an Enterprise license. Thanks for asking. Okay, so I believe what I had also seen is our next up is another poll question. Let me see if I can get this launched again. All right, here we go. So the questions are: have you attempted to integrate ServiceNow with Microsoft Teams or M365 yet? If you guys could please take a look at these questions and provide your responses, that would be great. And then if you have attempted to the integration, what configuration did you use? And we have our pre-published app, which is the single instance to a single tenant. And then you could use a self-configured app, and you could either connect it with a single instance to a single tenant or leverage it for multiple instances. So curious to see what folks have been doing so far. Okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end the poll here. Thanks to everybody for joining, and I'm going to share these results. So we're seeing less than 10% have not attempted it. 34% are in planning. 15% tried but did not were not successful, and then another 34% were successful and 10% aren't sure. So that's pretty helpful, and glad to see that there's so much effort and planning going into it, and hopefully we can get everybody into the yes successful category soon. So, and if you were yes, what's your integration like? Almost 40% leveraging the pre-published app, and then self-configured for another combined almost 30, and then 30 plus aren't real sure. So that's fantastic. Thank you folks for participating in the polls. All right, Raghu, over to you.
Hey, thanks, Jeff. Yeah, when we see the poll, we understand that some of you are not sure yet, what type of integration you need. So there are, like you saw on the poll, there are two ways you can configure, which is pre-published. The first option that you see, single instance to single tenant, which is driven via a proxy that you see in the picture below. From ServiceNow environment, we go to proxy and then hit the pre-published app. and then we are able to communicate with Microsoft Teams. So basically, that's the pre-published flow, and then we also have another flavor of configuration, that is multiple instance to a tenant. So what really goes through that configuration is that you have only one tenant, but you have a prod, you have a dev, and you have test lower instances that you want to configure and then test your changes or the features. That way, the support via the second configuration helps you achieve that. What it does is, from ServiceNow environment, you in the Microsoft Entra ID, you create the custom applications, which will point to a ServiceNow instance. That way, the communication happens between one instance and one application in the tenant. So likewise, you can have multiple custom applications which can help you point to different instances. That way, you will be able to use the application um, in different instances, though you have only one tenant to work with. We have a certain recommendation that you need to, before starting, you need to identify what are your uh, uh, pain points and priorities in order to use this feature, right? Suppose you don't have an integration yet, so you can look at um, how Jeff defined that you don't have to go to multiple places, and you have single app where the employee is able to use the collaborative tool, and then as well as with the employee center. So the way we have designed this also is flexible, and it can scale for multiple users. So at an architecture level, we are taking care of integrating Teams and ServiceNow instance for you to leverage the employee center within Teams. Yeah, I hope I conveyed the integration options. Um, Post your questions in case you need more details. Yeah.
Thanks,
Over
Raghu.
to you.
Yeah, appreciate that. Okay, so yeah, hope this helped. Let's go ahead, and it's time to get into the demo. So we're just a little bit less than halfway through our session. The demo should take maybe 20 minutes, and then we'll spend the rest of the time on Q&A. So I'm going to start out showing you guys, I'm pretty proud of this actually. So I've got this Teams tenant, Teams opened as an administrator of a tenant. And you can see here, I've got this Teams app 4942925 Snow. This is just a name I put together. And you can see we're looking at Employee Center Pro now, and we've got our chat capability. It's online, it's working. At the same time, in the same tenant, we have a second ServiceNow self-configured application. It is also working, has the chat set up, and it has Employee Center available as well. I'm not sure which one of these is which, so this is going to take a second to load. But this is, if you can imagine from your perspective, if you've got dev and test and prod, you could have these two instances, or you could have more. They could show up and you could see them in your tenant, within your own Microsoft Teams setup. And in addition to this, I'm going to go ahead and just bounce into Outlook, and I'm showing 45496 setup for Employee Center, and then this is the other one showing in Microsoft 365. And obviously your users can be using whatever other application, or they could be in their email and still get to ServiceNow and leverage all the capabilities that you've already put together within your setup, which includes all the goodness of Employee Center. I was just noticing today that this administrator has approvals to deal with, and that can be done right here. It's got its own AI search, it's got company news, links to apps, so you don't have to go anywhere and you can find exactly what you need, including setting up an incident or anything like that. So pretty powerful here, but I was just really tickled to get this set up. And to me, when we talk about having dev, test, and prod, this may be similar to the configuration that you'd like to see. So how did we do it? Well, first, I'm going to go back in here. I'm in this 45496, and these instances are set up with demo data for internal ServiceNow folks. So they've got, Employee Center and Virtual Agent are all configured. And this is what I really wanted to see in the integration. And so I think this is what we showed in the live view just now. So how do we do it? We're going to start by looking, creating a custom application inside of the Microsoft Intra ID. And I'm really going to step through a series of, I'm going to point to a handful of documents within the ServiceNow docs. And the first one is right here. I'm going to share this with everybody. And again, this is relatively limited to working with Virtual Agent and Employee Center. There's additional capabilities that are out of scope for today. But the first real piece that we're going to start to look at is the Azure application that's going to be used to authenticate users to access Employee Center and Teams. And at this point, guys, we're going to hold questions until we get to the end, unless you're in the Q&A. So what we did, and this is where you're going to need your Microsoft administrator or Teams administrator to help. And the steps that we're really going to go through are listed here, and they include creating an application in the Intra ID, configuring its authentication for Azure so that ServiceNow users can access via the web, set the API permissions for Microsoft Graph to access the self-configured app on behalf of the user. That's a delegated permission. And then we're going to scope the app to provide the least privilege, the minimum permission for ServiceNow in Teams, Outlook, and M365. And then finally, we'll add the client applications that can surface this custom application. In this case, it's the web and mobile versions of Teams, Outlook, and M365. So this is a relatively lengthy note that's got several steps to go through, but I'm going to go ahead and take you into my developer tenant. And just to start from the beginning, this is what your Microsoft admin might see, right? So they're going to go into manage their Microsoft Intra ID. This used to be Azure. There's a lot that's in here. You can see the tenant ID, which will be important for us. But where we really get into to work with the self-configured apps is to go into app registrations. You can see the owned applications here. There's none. But when I look into all applications, we can see the 4 apps that I created to deliver the integration that we saw earlier. And I'm going to start out in this 45496 tenant with this Snow Auth app. And I call it auth because it's used to authenticate the users, just as we saw in the tech note. And you go through a series of authentication steps where you enter in various pieces of information about your ServiceNow instance. You go through the API permissions. You provide the permissions needed for the app to get to be surfaced for the user. You expose the app, and these are the client IDs that we added. I guess we had to put in some information to access the instance, and then all the different client IDs. And these represent, I'm not sure which one is which, but this is the Outlook desktop client, the Outlook mobile client, the Teams mobile client, Teams app, and then M365. There's 7 in total. And this is what really allows us to work in these different surfaces, be them on mobile or the different M365 applications. So we went through all of that, and then we had our authentication app, and this is part of what's going to be used to house Employee Center inside of Teams. And again, once this is done, you can go into the overview tab of your tenant and look in into app registrations and look into all applications to actually find them. Okay. Next, we still need our Microsoft Teams or Microsoft Administrator to turn on to integrate Virtual Agent. And whether you're using Virtual Agent Lite regular virtual agent or Now Assistant virtual agent, it all works the same. And the doc that we are going to reference now is called Integrating Multiple ServiceNow Instances with a Single Microsoft Teams Tenant. And I'm going to drop this in the chat. And let's see here. I think I have it right here. So integrating multiple instances in a Teams tenant. So this is really around the platform capabilities. So this is really specific to virtual agent. It's got a handful of high-level steps, but what we really need to get into is to create a bot in Teams. And here it'll take you into Teams where you need to create a bot. So let's look at how that works. Again, we're back inside of Teams. We're going to go into this developer portal. There's a couple of different ways that your Microsoft admin can do this, but you're going to go into tools, into bot management. And I've created, as you'll see, 2 bots here, and they each have their own ID, and these will be referenced within ServiceNow to serve up virtual agent inside of Teams. And when I went to configure this, I put in the endpoint address with a bit of a ending configuration that's provided in the documents. And then I had to generate a client secret, which you need to copy down right when it's done because you can't access it after it's created. And that's really all that was done. And so I set up one of these bots. Once that's done, it's time to get to work in ServiceNow. And I'm going to show you another note around integrating your self-configured bot with a Teams instance, which I believe is this note right below creating a bot. So create a self-configured bot. And here we're going to go into the conversational interfaces settings under channels and integrations. So let's take a look at that. So again, if you go into your navigator and you go into conversational interfaces and into settings, it'll bring you somewhere into here. And we're going to go into channels and integrations. Now, when I first started this, you can see that I've got a Teams integration that's set up. At first it was here and there was an option to set it up, but as it is now, we're going to go into manage, and this is where you as an administrator would go to integrate with the self-configured bot. You can see that my bot ID, I think this may actually be the tenant ID that's listed, is here. But once you click on it, there's just a handful of fields to come in and enter, right? You name your bot. I don't believe it matters what you name it here. You add the tenant ID from Azure and the bot ID that we just created in Teams along with your client secret. And once that's done, it integrates the virtual agent with Teams. So that's great. And from that point, let's see here, we've done conversational interfaces. We are going to create and download the manifest file in Teams. And if you've been a part of any of our prior, and this is this note, if you've been a part of any of our prior calls, you may be familiar with the manifest generation process. And this is what the manifests look like for this instance. I started out with version 101, and I just named it ServiceNow for Microsoft 365. And then I named it Snow. And then I got a little bit smarter, and this is, I believe, a tip, to start to make it so that you can tell your different applications apart. So that's why I started to name it according to the name of the instance, to the number inside of this instance. But for you, it may be worth it to, maybe a good idea to talk about, name it dev, name it test, name it prod. Or whatever you want your production bot to be named. And as we go in here, there's a couple of differences. So I'm going to mimic a new manifest that will hopefully be instructive to see. Oh man, so I think I called this Snow 45496. And it's version 1.1 at this point. I think that this bot also had a couple of had some customization. I don't know if you guys noticed it, but I've got this little customization that I'm going to add in here, and it's just this easy. And mark that is done. I'm not going to actually upload this one, so I don't have to do it, but this is how you would make it happen. Okay, so we're going to click next on this. And then here's where we're going to find, this part was pretty cool. So we're going to connect to multiple ServiceNow instances on your Teams tenant. If you connect to a single tenant, it is going to go through the Now virtual agent application through the proxy. So if you don't want to do that and you want to leverage the bot that we just created, you have to go this route. If you hadn't done this first, as we're guiding today, you could configure click virtual agent and set up the connection at that point, but you would still need to follow the directions to set up the bot in Teams and then connect it to ServiceNow. And so because we already did that first, it was here and ready to go. And then this is where I think it's the most different. We have the tabs to be checked, and this is pretty crucial. We have the app ID, app client ID. This is going to go back to the ID for our authentication app. And it's pretty straightforward. You're going to need to have it if you don't have access into the Azure tenant. You're going to need to make sure that this is provided for you in a clear way so that you can put the right IDs with the right tenant. So here I would add in this ID, and then I'm looking for the tenant ID, which is also posted in the same location. So I'm going to bounce back. And this is really the crucial part of making sure that you are combining the right IDs so that you have in this configure tab. This is really speaking to what's happening with Employee Center and the tab structure within the app. When we were back on the virtual agent tab, that was all around configuring virtual agent, and there wasn't a whole lot to mess up on that one. So believe we have everything done correctly. And once this is done, we would simply download the manifest and then go into our Teams admin console here, right? So I'm in admin.teams.microsoft.com. Again, you need your Teams or your Microsoft admins to help with this. And I've searched for Snow, right? And I've got these 2 Snow apps. Basically what all I really want to show with this is that I've come in here and I've uploaded the manifest multiple times. I'm on 109 now. If I was to upload this one, what the heck, I might as well try it. Nothing like a little roll of the dice on I didn't download it. So I guess I won't do it. But it's pretty straightforward once you have the process down to get this uploaded into your Teams admin center. And then, lo and behold, sorry, I should go back and just for the benefit of showing how to get these in on the left rail, your Teams admin most likely will know about how to leverage this. But we're going to go into these policies, and I'm going to go back. When you talk about exposing these different applications to different audiences, using policies is the advisable way to get this done. You may need to create some different ones for people who have access to your dev, have access to test. And then for prod, you may be leveraging your global setup. But what we really did here was I added to the pinned apps these 2 apps. And so you can see they're listed here in positions 2 and 3. And that's what we see reflected here when we go into Teams. So we've gone through how to create the authentic. In this demo, we looked at setting up a bot on the Entra ID tenant to host within Teams. We reviewed the creation of a bot in Teams to connect with Virtual Agent. We then integrated the bot with Virtual Agent. And finally, we showed how to create a manifest to put the self-configured app into Teams. And we showed where to go and upload it. There is documentation that there's a couple of different ways to actually do that. But the way that we showed it, I think, is what would be most advised. So thank you for following along. And with that, I think that concludes the demo. It was a little faster than I'd expected. So got plenty of time for questions. Raghu, Gozda, do you guys have any questions you want to highlight?
There is one question, Jeff. The self-configured app, does it support sidebar as well as a major incident? I think, yeah, the MIM plugin. So it is the piece where we would need your expertise.
Yeah, absolutely. So we didn't include that in the scope for today's discussion. We really just looked at putting the apps inside of Teams, but these capabilities are all supported with the self-configured app. And if I go to look, I haven't really dug into this too much, but we're within the employee experience section or no, this is all around setup, but yeah, employee center, integrating employee experience, and those items would be more in the agent experience, but they do definitely both integrate. So all those capabilities are still available. Let me see if I can find one of these notes to put together. So here's the configuring for the agent experience. And this has instructions on notify, but the sidebar integration, I'm actually not certain that it's not in here. But again, I'll see if I can find some of that documentation and share it. Any other questions? I say we answered that one live. Oh my. I hope this was useful. I have to say, after going through the pre-published app many times, going with the self-configured app took a little bit of trial and error, but ultimately I was pretty pleased with the results, and I hope that this is something that the audience finds useful in terms of being able to work with the integration across multiple instances. Raghu, did you have anything to add or clarify from the demo?
No, Jeff, it was perfect.
Okay. If there are no other questions, I really appreciate the audience sticking with us for the session today and for all the questions. Again, this video will be posted to the page that was referenced earlier, and we look forward to having you join us on the next one. Our next session is 2 weeks out, 2 weeks from today, on the sidebar integration with Microsoft Teams. We'll also be talking more about Now Assist, and we'll be getting more into the agent experience in that session, showing how the content from a chat can be added into case notes and leveraged to provide for generative AI to provide a summary of a chat, of the case, of the resolution notes, etc. So a lot of powerful stuff in that next session coming up. It's going to be on I believe the 21st. Thank you so much for joining.